What's up, Zoxaskun? We're going to be taking a first look at everything that was added in this update, from the events to QOL, a ton of things to jump into. But I wanted to make sure that I did this from update to update because I think it is really important, now that we know that the devs are actually watching, to give constructive feedback, what we like, what we dislike, and what needs work, right? So with that, there's also some things that I wanted to go over that I feel like you guys absolutely need to pay attention to, because I mentioned this. A lot of people gave me flack for it. But hey, it is what it is. I just want to point out the fact that now this is being pushed by the game itself, okay? So this is just, again, my whole goal every time I put out a video is just to get people to think differently or to think about other things in the game, because it's not necessarily always just linear or super straightforward, right? So we're gonna go ahead and jump right into it because this stuff is really important. But great things that we already have going on. The synchronicity is currently going on, where we basically log in for 7 days and we can get up to 1,200 Enigma entity. Okay, this is actually really important because this is going to be something that I would love to continue to see. I think that this standard and setting tone with us being able to get a multi during different event periods is always nice. This can help people clean up a banner. This can help people get lucky on a banner, or even save, right? Always a great thing to see, right? Now, we also have the ferocious enemy takedown. This is another campaign event that we currently have going on. Basically, what they want us to do is go and challenge the ferocious enemies, which these are basically what we have been calling the mid bosses. You fight them up to 15 times. The 5th time that you fight them, you get 200 Kane. Oh, sorry, 200K Kane. There you go. And that's actually not a bad quantity. I think that having events like this actually can help supplement quantities of Kane or even TP that people desperately need to further build or invest into their stuff, because it is quite pricey, and there's only but so much to go around. Granted, you have your dailies, you have the chests that reset, and the ones that obviously are higher value, all the way up to the luxury, but I will say, yeah, giving us more of that said resource is always nice to see. We also have the TP points. It's 100K, which is actually pretty nice considering that dailies only give you 25K, right? So 100K in one spot just for going and farming something you need to farm anyway, why not, right? Like, that actually is a pretty huge thing. And then we have the selection box here, which is actually a pretty big ordeal, because the selection box actually is going to be giving you the option of picking up one of the cards. So if you have been one of those individuals, which I have seen, that's had a tough time with actually getting cards to drop, yes, you can actually get cards from the selection box, which I think is a nice little extra touch, just to kind of help out with the grind process, just to kind of give people the initial card, because then you can always work up to dupes after that, okay? Keep in mind, guys, that for those of you guys that's still on the fence on whether or not you want to pull Kazuki, you can still trial. Kazuki is along with Aroha or Suki, as well as Santro Mita. You can trial these units. Of course, there's extra resources that come with this, so this is something you definitely want to do. The other thing, again, some people won't note this, but I think this is a really important thing to note, is that during the campaign, these units currently are buffed. So Kazuki, Iroha, and Santro. Now, they get a 20% boost on their maximum HP, attack point, and defense point. So you will have to factor in these things in terms of like different things you might be seeing, like, okay, they're tanking more or they're hitting more damage or whatever it is, right? This is a buff for the campaign, and it will be going away in 34 days. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. We had this obviously for, right, Santoro, or sorry, not Santoro, Senju. We had it for Simba. And we also had it for Gotanda. So these are things that we have to kind of be aware of, and you'll be able to see the true power or the real amount of HP that you have on the character after these buffs go away, right? So again, still able to trial Simba if you like, if you're just starting out the game. So they are doing a really good job. I like the way that they overlaid these events, and just in terms of giving players that maybe are coming in new an opportunity to still snag some of the stuff so that they don't have that FOMO, like, oh man, new banners out, and then the last banner is like actually really good and now you can't get it. No, you still can, right? So pretty big deal there. So definitely we appreciate that 1,000%. Now, on top of that, another big thing that I wanted to talk about here is this week's Fractal Vice favored. Now, the favored has been so far only substats for specific stats, but this week we actually are getting finishing touch enhanced and support 4+. Okay, now a lot of people were like, well, I don't know, Zox, like, why would we actually aim for these stats? Well, here it is. They're pushing it. Now, like I mentioned before, though, and this was something that I want to clear up, is that I mentioned that the only reason why you would be emphasizing or focusing a stat, like, say, for example, finishing touch, it would need to be a very specific stat for a very specific reason. Not something that you need to do or is required for every character, but it's definitely something to think about for specific characters. And even down to the idea of focusing specific gear, it is necessary in this game. You're not necessarily building universal gear for every character, which is hence the reason why I think we get so much gear. And really, even when we're looking at tier 8, realistically, I will at least say that I have more than enough gear to equip all my characters. Are they perfect gear? No, by no means. But you definitely get enough, right? If you go through Fractal Vice, like I'm going now into my 4th rotation of Fractal Vice, so it's 4th week, you should have a pretty solid amount of gear. And I think the most important thing when we're talking about gear is that you have to build up. I think a lot of players want the perfect gear off rip, or they don't use gear because they're like, oh, that's not perfect. It's not good. In reality, you need to put placeholder gear on your characters. And then once you have placeholder gear, you can start nitpicking and kind of like fine tuning it and then going for the better variation. Or now we have this stat added to it, like, right? And that just makes it much easier versus just only trying to aim for the perfect piece off rip. So I feel like gear was intended to take time. I think that, again, the perfect loadout or the perfect gear set, it seems like they aren't really pushing, trying to implement a new gear tier right now. Not to say it's not going to come, but at least for what it's worth, I definitely thought that this was worth mentioning, because this now means, considering that we figured out how this works, that if you're using the par and this favorite at the same time, the par should be prioritizing the first line. This should be landing somewhere either on the second, third line. And really, I think it's the second line. So again, really, really important stuff I just wanted to touch on, because I know a lot of people are still trying to figure out what they want to do with gear. And there were a lot of players that confirmed that, again, like I said, I talked to a lot of JP players. These are things that people are doing and that they're emphasizing on their gear stats, because even now, it's even easier to achieve filling and filtering values like crit rate, for example, right? Like literally the card that just came out for Kazuki is kind of busted. It filters so much crit rate, and now there's no penalty to a lot of the cards, which is huge, right? So yeah, definitely just wanted to kind of focus on that just a little bit. Again, I think it is really important to diversify builds, and everybody's gonna have different builds, right? I think the things that you want to emphasize for your unit are gonna vary based off of how you're playing them, and how you're utilizing them in each comp, right? Now, outside of that, okay, I want to touch on some of the other QOL things really quick. Obviously, really big thing that they added, we are able to just go to Happy Worker from any screen. And this was something obviously they mentioned in the update, which I thought was like really neat. I was like, okay, that's actually pretty cool. Same thing with the delivery request. You can just hit the delivery request button and there you go, right? Now you're in the other side of technically Happy Worker and you're doing this. Trade requests, right? Which is pretty nice. Now, there's a couple of things that they didn't actually put in the patch notes that I wanted to talk about as well. They actually made it to where on screen, you could actually go to and teleport to Fractal Vice now. So if you click, like say, for example, Fractal Vice rewards, where it says Fractal Vice rewards have been reset, it actually lets you just TP there. You no longer have to just go to a respite beacon and TP. So I was like, holy crap, that's actually kind of cool. And I know a lot of people initially always like, and you guys might be thinking I'm joking, but like literally one of like my top questions is, how do I get to 24 city lobby? And now it is on the screen. So you can literally just TP there, which is a big deal, right? Now, the other thing is too, I have another video that's going to be coming for this rotation of Fractal Vice. We got to actually see what it is. But nonetheless, another thing that I also wanted to talk about, obviously, which I think is the biggest thing in this update, is the tension cards, okay? I'm going to have some more stuff coming for tension cards, but just to kind of go through these together, first looking at them, I'm going to actually move my my big head here so you guys can kind of see these a little bit better. But with these cards, man, it's kind of insane to see how many of the cards, and I don't have every single card or every single card, so we're going to actually sort this. And it looks like guys, they didn't even tell us they were doing this, by the way. Look at the filter. Look at the filter. See, this is what I'm saying. Like, they actually like went in. They like, when I say beyond listening to the community, like, they didn't even mention they were doing this, right? So we got the filter for the tension cards now. We can actually sort these by time acquired, ascension level, tension phase, rarity. Let's actually do this by rarity, because I just want to go through some of the cards that I at least have. I don't have every single card, so if you can, guys, make sure you go into the Discord to confirm what cards do have costs on them still. But I was really excited to see that there was a lot of cards that did not have tension cards anymore. Tension costs anymore, right? So let me actually see if I can get some of my stronger cards up here, right? So if we're looking at like this card, this is a rarity 3 with a phase 2. No tension cost. This EX card right here, no tension cost, right? This is an EX card, mind you, no tension cost. The card that came from the banner, or sorry, from the battle pass, no tension cost, right? The one that we start out with, it says after the effect is activated, there will be a 25-second cooldown. I can respect that. That's a lot better than a tension cost. It's technically downtime. It's not really a penalty, which I think is nice, right? So that's huge. I do have another card here. When granted shield is removed, just recover HP. No tension costs, right? So a lot of cards, even down to the alt cards that I recommended in the video, literally have no tension costs. This is by far the biggest change in this game. Like, and these are my highest rating, even down to my other EX cards, no tension costs, right? This is massive. Like, I'm not even kidding you guys. You just don't understand how much we're going to be able to actually do now. And this level of freedom is completely changing the game for us. We now are going to be able to basically make what we want to work, right? And that's something that is huge. Now, is everything going to work exactly how we think it might? Probably not. But this definitely at least gives us more than enough able opportunity to be able to build up tension, to utilize the break system a lot better with no penalty, which I think the tension cost was definitely penalizing us from getting and utilizing EX cards. It didn't really promote utilizing and pairing EX cards that much. And now we are seeing a completely different vibe with this. So I can at least say that almost all, if not all, the tension cards I have no tension costs, right? Yeah, I don't see one. And these are, again, from my EX all the way down, we eaten. So I don't know if they meant that they were just removing it, period, from every card. But we're going to figure this out and collect that data in the Discord. And we're going to have that posted shortly. So I'll let you guys know with a blast announcement in the Discord. But yeah, that's huge. So on top of that, okay, I want to check real quick because I didn't even notice that until I actually clicked on it. I want to see if they actually did this, because if they did, this is like insane. Hold on, let me see. Okay, so they still haven't touched the Patimon. So yes, Patimon is going to be the next thing that we need to see with like better filters. I'm not sure if in the bag there's a filter, so let's actually check the bag real quick before I jump too far ahead of myself. All right, so let's see. Yeah, so there isn't a filter yet for the compatible monsters. That's absolutely necessary. I feel like that is one of the top priorities for sure in the next update. A better system for like filtering, and that should be including not only being able to filter for what sets you want to equip, but also what you want to get rid of. Okay. I like personally haven't really gone through my bag in a little bit just because I'm like, man, I have to manually click all of this one by one. So it would be really nice for that. But again, amazing adaptation and change to filtering and detention cards. Since that was a focus, I absolutely get why that's already there, because that was a highlight focus of this update. Now, one last change that I wanted to throw in is the changes to the bosses. Now, this is actually pretty huge because there's a couple of different things that I'm really excited that they threw into this to make it more worthwhile our time. We basically now have it to where we can change the challenge level of the boss. Now, this is obviously going to be great for those that are, like, say, for example, working their way up and still don't feel comfortable maybe challenging the highest level. But the other thing that they added to this is EXP. This is insane. So they're treating it more like a dungeon. So you do have the chance of having great life data drop, as well as good life data, and then, of course, life data. And then as you go down, these values will obviously diminish. But nonetheless, it is still there. I think that that is something that is absolutely insane to have in the game now. This is a great change considering we have to farm so much crap, right? So if we now know that we can now build up EXP from doing this, I think that that's definitely really huge. I also don't think it would hurt to add some Kane to some of these fights as well. Granted, even if it was only say 2K, 3K, the number of fights that we have to do, it's like it'll just add up, would be a little nice extra cushion for the amount of fights that we're doing. So I think that that's something that also could be implemented with a lot of these boss fights. Granted, we have like Fractal Vice, which I also kind of think needs to have some more added to it, especially because people still clear for EXP. It is the most efficient thing to clear for EXP once you get to a certain level. I still feel like it would be nice to have some extra value added to that so that we could really get more out of basically the time that we put into the game, right? So with that, I got to say I had to bring this up. This is also applicable to Shark, and I think this is going to be applicable from here on forth on all the chapter bosses, which is really nice. Now, we don't have any story content, so we're not able to see the retries or anything like that. But I definitely wanted to mention this because this is actually a pretty huge part of the update. Now, of course, with that, guys, definitely make sure you guys are in the Discord. I promise you, it is a blast in there. We actually have our anime night coming up tomorrow. We're going to be watching the first 6 episodes of Tribe 9. So I'm actually pretty excited because this is actually our first community event that we're going to be doing. And with that, of course, we also have the feedback channel. So like I mentioned in the last video, Akatsuki actually reached out and they're asking for feedback. There's a lot of other things we're planning as well. So you guys have to stay tuned for that. But I'm really excited, man. There's a lot of great changes that's coming into the game. They've done so much to really make this game worthwhile. And I'm so glad that those of you guys that decided to stick around did. I'm glad that I seen the vision. They actually met my expectations. But nonetheless, man, that's basically going to be that with this one, guys. Hope to see you guys there. But I'll catch you guys in the next one. Stay blessed. All right, guys.